Good. Hello, everybody. It's Brandon Baines with the Wealth Builders. Greetings. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the hiccup that was going on with our connection, but I wanted to get this live stream restarted and share my information with you guys today. Typically, I will be going live on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. My name is Brandon Baines. I'm his presenter here with the Wealth Builders, and I'm here to provide real estate knowledge with you and to give you all the information you're going to need in order for you to be more of a savvy buyer and understand the real estate. So I first want to start with, what is real estate? Real estate is land. And one of the most important parts you need to understand about real estate and what creates the most value in real estate is location, location, location. Location plays a major part in your real estate transaction. That's why you can see typically in New York, for instance, New York is one of the most expensive real estate markets in the world due to the fact of the location. It demands the price. Land is at a scarcity, so it just demands it. In Manhattan, you're looking at 2,000 square feet condo or apartment that typically runs you about $2 million. Here in Atlanta, you get a 2,000 square foot apartment, quote unquote condo. You're nowhere near that. We're not even nowhere near that price point. You probably pay $100,000 for a 2,000 square foot apartment, depending on the location. So with that being said, you just have to understand that what creates the real estate value is your location, your location, location. People pay premium for views, and they pay premium for your home being near water. So when you think about that, and you're thinking about investing in real estate, you want to think about those type of things. Does this home have a view? Is it near a highway? Is it near water? What's the attraction and municipality that's going to bring buyers in the future that could potentially bring me a return on my investment? So these are the types of things that we go over when we consider thinking about or purchasing and investing in real estate. Where's the demand at? I want to go over today with you all buyer's market and a seller's market. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to comment and we'll go and I'll discuss it further with you. So the first thing I want to discuss is what a buyer market is. A buyer market is one in which the supply of the home significantly exceeds demand. Supply is greater than the demand. The price of the home is pushed lower, making them more attractive to buyers. In contrast, a seller market is in which there are more buyers and relatively fewer homes to sell, which leads to multiple offers, situations that drive up prices. So right now, in the price point of anything below $300,000 in the metro Atlanta area, maybe about $350,000. It's a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. So the sellers are pretty much in control of everything. There's such a limited supply of real estate at that price point that it just demands that the seller doesn't have to give out any concessions. They pretty much get everything that they want. So when you're looking at purchasing a home right now in this market, which is a seller's market at this below the 300 or 375 price point, sellers are pretty much, they don't have to give any concessions because they know their home's going to sell. There's not enough inventory in order for it to meet the demand. There's more buyers out here than there are sellers. So typically right now, what we're looking at is most sellers are getting anywhere between 97% or 95% of their list price all the way to 100%. Some of them aren't even offering any closing costs, any concessions. And what we mean by concessions, when you're talking contract or negotiations, concessions are things that the seller will be willing to do or fix in regards to making repairs to the home. So for instance, you walk into a home and you're like, man, this house has bad, it needs new paint. The carpet is ancient. The HVAC unit, for instance, could be in horrible condition. It could be 15 years old, may need to replace the roof, things of that nature. And this is going to the extreme. But just think about those type of items that you're looking at when you're purchasing a home and the amount of money you have to put in to replace those items or fix or repair those items. So with this market, there's just not enough of them. There's just not enough homes on the market. So sellers can just pretty much put their house out there and sell it, and they're going to get a buyer. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to be willing to go with those concessions and fix the house. So this is great for the seller side of selling your home. Or buyer, you're pretty much either going to be into multiple offers, which leads to paying more money for a home instead of paying what you would call a fair price for the house. That's what I call it. Hey. And typically how we understand how a market is based off a market absorption rate. That's the best way to figure out what type of market it is, whether it's a buyer market or a seller's market. The absorption rate is calculated by looking at how many homes sold in a certain month and dividing that number by the total number of homes for sale at the end of the month. An absorption rate of 20% or below is generally deemed as a buyer's market, which, since homes are selling relatively slow, the number of home suppliers, 20 to 100 or 5 months, is high. So that's how we calculate our market absorption rate. And like I said, we have to know these things in order to know where the demand is, how many homes it is, what market we're in, because those things change, and based off of the demand or lack thereof of demand is going to help you kind of understand what you can do when you're going to the negotiation table. Or if you're a seller and you're selling a home and you're in a seller's market and you know you're going to have to give out concessions, you're going to offer premiums, you might give out what they call broker bonuses to sell your home a lot quicker. In the 400 to and above price point, that's where you would see more of the seller's market. And I mean, if you're looking in Atlanta and you're looking at new construction right now, mainly anything over that 400 price point, you're typically going to see builders out here giving out all types of concessions because they're trying to move their home. In fact, you might even see them do some price drops because they want to move the units. And this is the metro Atlanta area. A lot of this information I will be talking will be based off of our market, but it's relatively in regards to the real estate industry. And in a buyer's market or a seller market, each market is different when you're talking relatively in regards to maybe the Phoenix, Arizona area or the, Las Vegas area. Those areas will change based off of what their market can hold. For instance, I was just visiting Las Vegas just a few weeks ago, and my friend sells luxury real estate, around the $500,000 to $600,000 price, $500,000 to $600,000 and above price point, and they're in a buyer's market. That's crazy that the high-end market is a buyer's market. I mean, they just can't even keep up with the supply. So when you're thinking about that, look at that. How drastically at 500,000 and above in Las Vegas, it's a buyer's market. I mean, they're out there buying. The sellers are not giving any concessions. They're just pretty much, this is what it is, take it or leave it. And then you come here to Atlanta, where at that price point, it's a seller's market. I mean, they have to give up a contract. They have to give it up. They have to offer everything, every amenity, whatever it takes to sell that home, to move that house. So a market can change and varies based off of area, city, zip code. I mean, it's a lot of different reasons. But I'm here in the metro Atlanta area. Like I said, we're currently in a market at that 400 and above, and we're in a buyer's market on below. So with that being said, now that you understand the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market, let's discuss some other things in the real estate that you may not be aware of. Let's talk about appreciation. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with what appreciation is. But appreciation is the increase in a home value over time. So when you guys are looking out here trying to build generational wealth or wealth and you're like, man, I need my money to work for me. Putting money into a house is one of the best things that you can do. As we're going to discuss a lot further and get more in depth into real estate as a whole, you want to think about these items. Like appreciation is the best thing to do. Sorry about that. Appreciation is the best thing that we have because it improves the value of your home based off of time. Typically, the best way to calculate it is 2.5% based off of your base, what your base price was when your house, whatever you previously had appraised value. You look at it based off of the amount of time within a year, it gradually increases about 2.5%. That's a fair appreciation calculator. And it's just awesome to have appreciation. So that means literally, as long as you're in a house, it's appreciating. A home is an appreciating asset. It's better than buying a car, which depreciates in value every year, and every mile that you put on that car, it just completely dwindles down the value of the car. As a house appreciates and goes up in value, this is how you build that wealth, or you build that extra income, whereas though your money's working for you. This is why I'm so passionate about real estate and how it can really redefine or change your life, because you could literally be sitting in the house for 5 to 7 years. And if we're talking resale, you may look at, depending on the improvements in the area or the improvements in your house, you can be looking at $20,000, $30,000 for a house for 5 to 7 years of appreciation. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, your money's literally working for you because you're just living in the house, not because you're doing anything extra. You're just living in the house, and it's just making wealth because land is so scarce. So when you think about that, that's an amazing addition to why you would want to purchase a house. There's another thing that I don't know if you guys know, but if you're not aware of, there is no capital gain tax on homes. So you can get up to $500,000 of capital gain if you're filing jointly on your taxes and you own your house for 2 years or more. There's no other industry that you can get no capital gain tax for selling your home or for selling a product. So you can appreciate, or your home can increase value, or you can make profit up to $500,000 without any taxes. If you file jointly, it's $250,000 per person. But that's amazing. I mean, think about that. If we break that down, and the minimum is 2 years. So if you bought a house, and say for instance you were buying in, let's say, new construction, because that's the best way to kind of align everything, or is to show it how quickly appreciation can develop. Let's say for instance you get into a house on the first phase. And we're talking, let's say, for instance, a $200,000 house. The base price was $200,000. You got in first phase. You were one of the first buyers in the community, and you bought. The builder builds out typically most builders, they increase price every certain amount of units or after a period of time. Say, for instance, the builder increases price every 10 units. They're building 50 homes. So the first sale, they got their 10 houses. They increased the price by $20,000. You started at $200,000, so now they're at $220,000. The next 6 months, they go out, they build the next 10 houses. Now we're at $240,000. You have $40,000 worth of appreciation already into that home, and we're not even talking about what you put in your down payment or appreciation just generally in the community. And we're just starting. Once the builder builds out, let's say the builder builds out and they finish the house, they finish the entire community, and the last house they sell is $300,000. You have $100,000 worth of equity in that house. That's unheard of. So if you say, okay, well, we've been in this house for 5 years, we done made $100,000, plus we done paid our mortgage down for about 5 years. And if you're a real savvy buyer, you're beating down the atomization, which is pretty much what atomization is. I'm sorry to jump off topic because there's so much when you're thinking about all these things. Atomization is your payment schedule. So pretty much how atomization works is you're gonna be top heavy in your interest first, which is typically 90-10. 90% is going to be your interest rate. I mean your interest, and 10% is going to be your principal. So that's how your atomization works. As you gradually go down and you're breaking down years like year 5, year 10, year 15, around year 15, you're typically going to be halfway through your atomization where you're going to start to balance out and it'll start to be 90% principal and 10% interest. As that gradually comes down, and if you pay more on top of your atomization. So for instance, in the beginning part of your mortgage, you pay an additional $200. You apply that to your principal. It can save you thousands and thousands of dollars on your back end of your mortgage. And that's what I mean by being more of a savvy buyer and cutting down your costs and saving yourself money at the long run. You don't want to be giving no bank $200,000 of interest just to buy a house. That's why I always advise my clients or customers to make sure they understand that if you're not going to be in a house long, don't look at you don't be caught up on interest rate. Unless you're going to be in a house for 30 years, that's the only way you're going to really be caught up into your interest rate, because at the end of the day, you can beat that, or you're not even being in a house long enough to even pay all that interest. So all it is affordability. The average buyer lives in a house 5 to 7 years. So typically life's going to change within that 5 to 7 year period. So let me get back onto the topic. So when we're talking appreciation, you have $100,000 worth of equity. You can sell that house and you can take that 100,000 and whatever's remaining on your balance of the mortgage. So let's say, for instance, you paid down the mortgage and it's down to the balance is 150. So we started at 200,000. We've broke down our mortgage payment. We broke down our principal balance down to $150,000. That means I have just appreciated $150,000 worth of equity into my house. I can go out and buy another house and go up the food ladder. So I started at $200,000 house. Now my sale price can be, maybe I might want to buy $300,000 or $450,000 house. But don't forget, with that appreciation of equity, you've made $150,000 off of that sale of that house. So you can either put that into your bank or you can apply some of that money towards your down payment of your house. But keep in mind, there's no capital gain tax. So all that money is tax free. You're not paying any money on selling your home. If you start to go over that $500,000 investment, you can do what they call a 1031 exchange, which is pretty much transferring ownership from one property to the next. And pretty much, what's the best way to phrase it? It allows you to transfer your required tax payment over for a period of time. And that's what most savvy buyers do. They don't want to pay taxes on real estate investments. They kind of want to hold it, try to manipulate the money as much as possible, and to prevent paying the government. Because at the end of the day, why do you want to pay the government all this extra money? You want to save as much money as possible in your pockets. So if you put it to the house or into the home, then they won't tax you. But there is a very strict guideline on how to do a 1031 exchange, which we'll get into a little bit more depth once we go a little further into the real estate training. So there's a lot of other ways. So if you guys have, like I said, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Feel free to reach out to me. My name is Brandon Baines. Also go by It's Already Sold on Instagram. So if you want to follow me, make sure you check me out. I like to give a lot of wealth of information. I do work new construction as well as resale. So if you have any questions about resale or new construction, feel free to reach out to me. I'll answer all your questions. Bear with me. So The next thing we're going to discuss is what we in the real estate world call a CMA, which is a competitive market analysis. And pretty much what that is an evaluation of a home value based on similar or recent homes sold. And we call them comps. And they're typically within a certain radius or a certain neighborhood. And this is how it's not the same as an appraisal, but this is how real estate agents kind of get a quick glimpse of if a home is worth the value that they're going to buy. And that means their client's going to purchase. Again, it's not an appraisal, so it's not an official number to sit here and say, yes, this home is worth that. If you really want to find out exactly how much your home is worth, I would recommend, you get a licensed appraiser and get it prepared. But real estate agents give you a pretty quick glimpse of what the value of a home is through a CMA. And typically when you're looking at real estate investments or any type of investment, you want to know what you can potentially get for that house based off of RV, what is it, repair after value, RVIs. So when you're thinking about these things, you need to know if I'm going to invest, so for instance, in a duplex, what are the comps in this area that's going to pay for it if I have to rehab this home? How's the market looking? Is it worth it to put $20,000 in this house and then I can resell it and make a profit, or it's not? Does the numbers work? In real estate, that's your number one thing you want to make sure. Do the numbers work? A lot of people fall into that trap of just buying a house, investing in it, and then realizing, oh my goodness, this house, I can't even get the money. And that's what you can consider as an over improvement, is investing into a house too much in the area or the neighborhood's not ready for it. So that's pretty much what you're thinking about when you do a CMA. Any real estate agent can do a CMA. They can always pull it up and give you the information and let you know. So fair market value. So when we're thinking about CMAs, purchasing a house, the buyer market, seller's market, you also got to know fair market is the home price that a buyer and seller in arm's length transaction will be willing to agree upon on the open market. For example, if a son buys a home from his mother at an unusual low price, the price is not the fair market value because not an arm's length transaction. The mother would more likely sell the home at a much higher price if she sold it to the open market to an unrelated buyer. So when you're thinking about fair market value, it's between you. Market value is only based off of what a buyer is willing to purchase. So for instance, I was buying a duplex in the city of Atlanta, and the buyer or the seller has the house listed for $125,000. It's been on the market for about 180 days. If I offer them $110,000 and the seller agrees to that, and it's on the open market, that's fair market value. We're at arm's length. We agreed upon the price, and it's only what the buyer or the seller is willing to take or sell it at. So that's what you consider as fair market value. So don't let nobody tell you, oh, you're undermining me. It's only what the value of the person is willing to purchase the property for. I mean, unless you're gonna let it sit on the market forever. You know what I mean? So keep in mind that an offer is an offer. You never know what somebody's willing to take unless you submit it. A lot of people get caught up on the price and how much they're getting for a home and what have you not. But at the end of the day, an agent's job is to take the emotion out the deal and to handle the logistics. That's why, as me as an agent, I don't get upset about low price offers or anything of that nature, because at the end of the day, I'm not the owner. I have no emotion into the deal. At the end of the day, we placed the price on the house. We're requesting that. But if there's no buyers that's going to pay, for instance, $150,000 for my duplex, and somebody else comes on the market and says, I'll pay $130,000, that's what the market is stating that it is. If I get 5 people that keep saying $130,000, $130,000, $130,000, $130,000, that's Would I have to sell a house for? I mean, you don't have to. You can hold it, but that's what the demand is. You can either hold on that property, or you can let it go. But it's totally up to you and what you think the value of that home is, and how long you're willing to carry over that property or sell it. Another area I would like to discuss before leaving you guys is a loan to value ratio, which is also in our world called LTV. And loan to value ratio is the ratio of amount of money borrowed over the appraised value of a home, expressed at a percentage. So the difference between the two numbers of the difference between these two numbers is the amount the buyer down payment. For example, a buyer may purchase a home appraised at $400,000 with a down payment of $80,000. That means that this loan to value ratio is 80%. In other words, he has 20% of home equity. The more money you put down on a house, the more the lender looks at it as it's less riskier. Also, it helps save you money also. So that's why when you see FHA and they say only 3.5% down, and you have which is called PMI, which I discussed last week, PMI, which is principal mortgage insurance. When you're paying that 3.5% down on FHA, it's for the life of the loan. You're always going to have PMI insurance on that house. But for instance, if you had a loan to value ratio of 80-20 on a conventional deal, you don't have to pay no PMI insurance, and the lender looks at it as it's a very risky or less riskier deal, because at the end of the day, you have enough money. Excuse me, you have enough money in the deal. Whereas though, if they had to foreclose on a house, they're not really going to lose anything. They can afford to take a loss and sell that property and get their money back. So that's the major reason why lenders are love buyers that's putting that 20% down, because of that equity. And you also got $80,000 in a house, so you have a little bit more wiggle room to take out money if you needed it for improvements, or maybe life happens and you need to purchase something. But it does lower the risk for the lender, and that's why they're willing to do different costs, different items for you when evaluating a loan application. Is that the greater amount of money you put down, the more affluent or the more position you are to negotiate with the lender. I mean, I had a client who was in Buckhead. He bought a $489,000 condo townhouse. At $489,000, he put $250,000 down, and the lender didn't even require an appraisal. They took the appraisal from the last year because he put so much money down. It was almost about 50%, over 50% down. So he came down, put $250,000 down. We could close in less than 30 days. We didn't need an appraisal, and every lender is different. Some lenders may require that even if you do put $250,000 down. But typically, based off the value, the recent homes sold in that area, they looked at it, they assessed it, they said it's not a high risk for us. He's already at $250,000 down in the house, in the equity. That worst case scenario, we're gonna make our money back regardless. We can afford to sell this. If the worst case scenario, if the market does downturn and this guy does default on the loan, I'm good. I can sell a house for $250,000. I'm gonna get my money back. So that loan to value ratio was significantly less riskier for the lender. So these are the types of items or nuances you want to kind of know when you're thinking about purchasing real estate. So that's one of the items that I did discuss today. Over it with you guys. Remember, we are currently in a buyer's market in the Metro Atlanta area for homes $300,000 or $350,000 and below. So when you're thinking about that, that's where we're at. We're in a seller market for $400,000 and above. A buyer's market, as a buyer, you're going to get all types of concessions. You're going to get, you're not going to get any. You're going to get all types of concessions. You're not getting anything you're going to get everything that you want. So if you want, not everything, I'm sorry, but you're going to get multitudes of things that you want. Essentially, getting the house painted, getting the flooring redone, getting the HVAC system put in the house, putting a brand new roof on the house. That's what's going to happen for a buyer's market. A seller's market, the seller's typically not going to give you too much. The seller's market is going to give you everything that you want. So those are the major differences in your buyer's market and your seller's market. We went over LVT, loan to value ratio. We also went over appreciation, which is your home is appreciating a certain value, which is typically 2.5% every year, and you're going to get a value on that. And then you have depreciation, which is like a car. Cars depreciate in value every year or every time you keep driving the car because at the end of the day, it's not designed to hold value. And we also went over fair market value. So that was my course today, you guys. Let me know if you guys got any questions, if I can help you with anything. And I look forward to working with you guys and sharing my knowledge. Sorry we were a little off today, but I just really want to thank you all for listening. And you guys have a great day.